On July 3rd, 1965, second grader Suzuki Toshiyuki, 7 at the time, told his mother that he was going outside to play. But as the day wore on and he didn't return, his parents grew worried and called the police. A search party was formed, but Toshiyuki was never seen again. But this was just the start of an incredibly strange case that, to this day, has never been solved. July 3rd was a Saturday, and in the morning, Toshiyuki had classes at his elementary school in Ito City, Shizuoka Prefecture. He then returned home and had lunch with his mother and 19-month-old brother before heading out to play. The Suzuki family lived in a small farming and fishing village off the coast, and the boy was especially fond of fishing. On this day, Toshiyuki told his mother he wanted to go fishing, but she told him he couldn't, so he decided to catch some bugs instead. He grabbed a box from home that formerly held some candy to enjoy with tea, and took it with him as he set out for some summer bug catching. This candy was a specialty in Shizuoka that used homegrown tea as an ingredient, and it was often given as gifts to friends or family members. This empty candy box, about 7 centimeters long and made to resemble bamboo, was also popular with children in the area because it was just the right size to keep bugs in, such as the beloved rhinoceros beetle. With his candy box in hand, Toshiyuki was seen by several locals that afternoon, hunting bugs around the village. However, this also later presented a small problem. Because this type of candy box was so popular with children who like to catch bugs, the eyewitness information was unreliable. Did the villagers really see Toshiyuki while he was out and about? Or did they see other children who also just happened to be holding the same type of box? After all, it was early summer, and bug catching was popular with young boys at the time. Because nobody knew that Toshiyuki would soon go missing, nobody paid close attention to the boy, or boys, they saw wandering around the village. It could have been him, but it might have also been someone else. At any rate, what was certain was that at around 3 p.m, Toshiyuki was seen playing on the beach with a net he had borrowed from a classmate, trying to catch fish. Then, around 4 p.m, he was seen trying to catch bugs with the candy box he had taken from home. The last person to see Toshiyuki was a second grader from junior high, who briefly chatted with him around 4:30 p.m. near a bus stop, around 500 meters south of Toshiyuki's house. They were close to the entrance of a mountain trail leading to Mount Hazu, a popular spot with children to catch insects. The junior high student reportedly gave Toshiyuki a rhinoceros beetle he was keeping at home, and then Toshiyuki asked the older boy to join him in catching some more. This junior high boy wasn't the first he had asked that day. He had reportedly earlier asked another boy because his mother forbade him from going to the mountain alone. However, the junior high boy was busy, so he had to turn him down. What happened to Toshiyuki after that remains to this day unknown. Police thought it unlikely that Toshiyuki proceeded to the mountain himself, and evidence seemed to support that. They interviewed a local who lived along the mountain path who kept 4 guard dogs, who barked at anything, and he reported that he didn't hear anything around that time. Vicious wild dogs were also known to roam the area, particularly in the evenings, and locals were well aware of this. Few people, let alone children, would roam the area as the day was drawing to a close, without the proper lighting and precautions. Toshiyuki was also not the type of boy to forget the time, or stay out past when he was allowed, nor would he enter the mountain alone. That was why he asked so many older boys that same day to go with him. In any case, police did search the area, but they found nothing suggesting Toshiyuki had been there. They also searched the beach where he had been seen playing, seeing as it was highly possible he returned there after being unable to secure an older friend to join him. But again, they found no trace of him. It seemed that Toshiyuki had vanished into thin air. But the case was about to get even stranger. On July 5th, 2 days after Toshiyuki went missing, an elderly woman living in Kasuga Home, a building with a name similar to the apartment building that Toshiyuki and his family lived in, Kasuga So, received a phone call around 12:45 p.m. "I heard that a child went missing near your house. Is that true?" "It's true, right?" a woman said. The elderly woman replied that yes, it was true. And then the other person hung up. The elderly woman then contacted the police about the odd call because she also heard a child's voice in the background. At 1 p.m. on that same day, a relative of Toshiyuki's received a phone call from someone police assumed to be the same person. These relatives ran a store selling liquor and general goods, and the eldest daughter was the one who answered the phone. Again, it was a woman who asked, "Did a child go missing from nearby?" When the daughter answered yes, the woman on the other end gave her a surprising response. "I kidnapped him. Come to platform 1 of Atami Station today at 3 p.m. But the daughter was so surprised that she dropped the phone and ran outside to tell one of the firefighters, still looking for Toshiyuki, what was going on. Of course, when they came back inside and picked the phone up, the woman had already hung up. They alerted police, and one of Toshiyuki's relatives who worked at the city hall went to Atami Station with 2 police officers at 2:30 p.m. to wait for contact. However, they never saw anyone they thought could be the perpetrator, and nobody approached them either. After 4 p.m., they left empty-handed. But there was one more call, made at 1:30 p.m. that same day, to Toshiyuki's father's place of work. When the mother of the manager answered the phone, a woman asked if Toshiyuki's father was there. When the mother informed her that he had taken the day off, she quickly hung up. That was the last anyone heard of the woman. But the following day, a fish store near Toshiyuki's house also received a call around 9 a.m. A 4-year-old child who lived there answered the phone and was overheard saying, "What? Toshi-chan?" When the child's grandmother heard this, she rushed over and took the phone, but the person on the other end had already hung up. At first, it was thought that this call might have come from the same woman as the day before, but after some investigating, it turned out that a housewife had some business with someone who lived nearby by the name of Tatsuo and wanted the fish store to contact them. But when a small child answered the phone, the child didn't understand what they wanted, and so they hung up. It was possible that the child wasn't actually saying Toshi-chan, but instead Ta-chan, and the grandmother had misheard it because of what was going on. From the 3 people who received phone calls on July 5th, it was determined they were likely from the same woman due to her accent and the contents of what she spoke about. In fact, judging by her accent, police surmised that it was highly likely she was a local, but they were never able to record her voice to check for sure. It's important to remember that in the mid-60s, landlines still weren't common in regular households in Japan, and Toshiyuki's family didn't have one, hence why the woman called various other people connected to the family who did. This made it difficult to guess who she might call next and potentially record her voice to identify her. During their investigations, police uncovered reports of an intruder seen breaking into a holiday house in the area. Inside, they found a toy jitte, a baton used by police during the Edo period. lipstick on a bath towel, and food remnants in the kitchen. A black car was also seen driving around Toshiyuki's house. Police investigated whether the intruder could have possibly been the same woman on the phone, but determined it to be unlikely. Although a jitte had been found inside, Toshiyuki reportedly wasn't interested in such toys, and it wasn't uncommon for couples to break into these holiday homes, which were often empty for large periods of time, to use them as free love hotels. They determined this particular incident to be unrelated to Toshiyuki's disappearance, and the timing nothing more than a coincidence. However, the black car seen driving around his family's apartment was of more interest to them. It was seen driving around their building 3 times between 8:40 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on July 5th, the same day the phone calls were made. And then a woman was seen observing the apartment from a nearby highway until 2 a.m. that same night, from the car's rear window. The car's lights were off as it drove around at night, making it even more suspicious. However, nobody was able to remember the license plate of the car, nor did they clearly see the woman inside to give a description of her. In any case, police continued searching for Toshiyuki, organizing a thorough search of Mount Hazu with over 10,000 people that covered both the mountain and the areas surrounding it for 2 kilometers in either direction. No trace was found of Toshiyuki, the clothes he was wearing that day, or the candy box he set out with. The search for Toshiyuki continued over the next month, but finally it was called off when they found no trace of him. The police then moved to interviewing and searching local houses, inns, and other buildings. But again, they found nothing. As time went on, the operation was downsized, and after a year of no results, the case was turned into an open investigation. It was at this time that an unfortunate truth came to light. In order to ensure Toshiyuki's safety, police had kept private numerous instances of cruel pranks where people had pretended to be the missing boy. This included people posting fake letters claiming to be him and begging for help, or others pretending to be the kidnapper and asking for ransom money. In one instance, someone was even jailed over trying to blackmail the family. But as more time passed and there was no sign of Toshiyuki, his family grew despondent and feared that the world had forgotten him. Unfortunately, that was when the case went cold, and even now, nearly 60 years later, nobody knows where Toshiyuki went or where he is now. It also remains unknown who the woman was that made numerous phone calls about his disappearance and was seen in the black car driving around his house. Considering that she knew things such as Toshiyuki's father's place of work and the general store that his relatives owned, police have long theorized that she was someone who knew the family. But in the end, they were never able to pin down who she might be. And with how much time has passed, it seems unlikely that this case will ever be solved. If still alive, Toshiyuki would now be in his late 60s. But what did you guys think of this one? What do you think might have happened here? Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to help support this channel so you can see more content like this, please consider hitting that join button down below as well. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time.